welcome back to GameSpot's coverage of PAX 2014. We're here at Sector G! I love
Sector
it.
G.
Last appointment of the day, but it's a great one, Mr. Will Miller. Nice to meet you, sir. David McDonough from Firaxis Games. How you doing, gentlemen? You literally just ran over from your panel. It finished like 15 minutes ago.
It finished just a few minutes ago, and it was a packed house. I think we were turning people away at the door.
Wow.
It was so awesome to see such enthusiasm for Beyond Earth.
Yeah, Sasquatch Theater ain't no small theater as well.
No,
so,
it's not.
What's it like actually talking to people? Obviously, Firaxis, this series has been going on now for, God, almost like 2 decades, I'd say, at this stage.
Yeah.
Well, what's it like having feedback, having like these passionate fans actually talking to you and telling you if you made a good game or not?
Well, it's just unbelievable. Like we are Firaxis fans. We grew up on their games, and to be on the other side of that table is like, I still don't really believe it. Like we were so excited to make Beyond Earth, but to have it here and to be able to show it off and see how people react is unbelievable.
Yeah, you guys are co-lead developers on this, and you were telling me before we started, you guys actually went to college together?
That's right. We've known each other for almost a decade. We went to college at the Savannah College of Art and Design, and we learned to make games there together, and we learned to program there together, and through luck, a lot of luck,
and hard work.
We made it to Firaxis together as leads on this great game. It's the dream come true.
Excellent. Yep. So let's talk about Civilization Beyond Earth. I was equating this wrongfully in the past to something like Alpha Centauri, which is a game I have a decent amount of time playing recently. For folks who haven't played this game or perhaps aren't very familiar with Civilization in the sort of the grander scale, what is Beyond Earth?
Well,
you do spend a lot of time together.
We do. Beyond Earth is the story of mankind's future. If Civilization explores our history and our past, Beyond Earth is the story of our future on a new world. And the game takes place about 250 years from now, after a cataclysm we call the Great Mistake. And the nations of the world have reorganized themselves and are sending seed ships out to distant planets. And every time you play a game of Beyond Earth, you are one of those expeditions. So looking at the game now, we've just landed on a new world. We're starting to expand. There are a lot of things to do. We see the tech web here. The non-linear progression is one of the big new features that we put into the game. So one of our goals with this product was to make it, at the same time, very accessible to Civ players, but at the same time, very, very different, and to really get you in there and to play the long game in a very different way than you did in Civ's past.
It must be inherently different, considering like Civilization is almost, history is a known quantity. People understand that, you went from having foot soldiers to, guys on horses, to cars, to tanks and whatnot. Like, how do you show the distance in like time and evolution of a culture when you don't have those touchstones that people sort of inherently know about?
Sure. Well, it's lots of different ways. And that's one of the most fun parts about designing and playing Beyond Earth, is that the story unfolds as the player plays. We're really big on player telling their own story through their gameplay. And Historic Civ is the same way. You effectively get to rewrite history, right? You get to say, what would happen if Napoleon and Genghis Khan actually met? Well, in this game, you get to start with some starting conditions that are pretty close to what we know now, not too far away from present day.
Yeah.
But then step by step, and like little choice by little choice, grow into this wild, imaginary, science fiction future. And through the units that you build, the way your cities look, the way you engage in diplomacy, just how you live on this planet and deal with the life forms that already live there, all of these add up to eventually creating the tale of what happens to humanity next.
So I guess you have a lot of decisions to make when you land on this planet. I guess the 3 main directions that I've seen anyway in coverage for this game is the ability to either try and create a sort of a copy of Earth on this new planet, to maybe try and use genetics to become more like the species who are there and fit in, and then there's the sort of technological route. Can you explain just how those systems work, how those choices manifest for the player? How much control do you have over what direction you want to go in, and how much does your civilization have in terms of that control?
Well, as you said, there's sort of 3 ways to approach the problem of humanity on a new world, and those are harmony, purity, and supremacy. And they're called technology affinities. And as you research technologies in the game, and as you make decisions in the quest system or discover things on the planet's surface, you begin to devote your civilization to one of those 3. At the end of the game, you're inevitably some mix of the 3, but you have a dominant affinity. And that has pretty dramatic implications to how the game plays.
Yeah. So it's you progress your affinity through technology as one of the big ones, the technological web has been redesigned so that you start in the center around things that we more or less know today and expand outwards along any direction you want. And as you go and as you sort of express your priorities, like I really care about guns, I really care about energy, I really care about culture, your affinity comes alongside with that. You eventually start to take on a flavor based on what you make. And then the quest system is sort of the other half. That is sort of a commentary on what you're already doing. You know, as you go through the game, quests will come up that let you try a different tactic or make a philosophical choice about what just happened. And that is the other half of you expressing which affinity you prefer to be. So between the two of these things, an entire gameplay is sort of a story of you coming to terms with who you're ultimately going to be and then expressing it through everything that you do.
How difficult is that to communicate to people who, like, even, I guess, like Civilization is a game that's relatively difficult to try and get into. At least there's a time commitment involved with it. How difficult is it to try and create a game that has all of these new systems that not only people who are completely new to it don't know, but even Civ fans, presumably, this is a whole new set of rules?
That's right, and we've spent a lot of time trying to strike that balance. I think we have a healthy amount of both respect for the Civilization franchise, but also irreverence.
Yeah.
We're both young designers, and this is our first Civ title, and we come to it with fresh eyes and a lot of respect. But at the same time, we're ready to re-examine every system in the game as it relates to this new futuristic context. And we hope that this product enjoys a very long life, and we can continue to sort of differentiate it in really substantial ways. But Beyond Earth plays a lot differently from Core Civ. If you treat this game like Core Civ, you'll lose very fast. You'll notice immediately that when you land on the planet, the aliens are sort of a diplomatic and military entity all their own that are relevant throughout the entire game, not just the stumbling block, the speed bump that barbarians were in Civ 5.
Right.
Things like miasma and the canyons and everything, which are impediments to you early, become advantages to you later, depending on your affinity devotion and how you decide to handle those. So there are a lot of these really neat ways that your civilization changes, both mechanically and aesthetically. So your leaders start to change, your cities start to change. As you upgrade your military units, they take on different appearance to reflect all of these choices that you're making. Yeah. So you get a lot of feedback.
Yeah. The orbital layer stuff as well is kind of a new, I guess, layer that Civilization hasn't had before. Can you talk a little bit about that? Is that mostly endgame stuff, or
the orbital layer, like our gameplay designer Anton likes to describe it as getting to break the rule of 1 unit per tile, which Civ 5 introduced.
Yeah.
And in a sci-fi game, it sort of makes sense that if you can fly through space and land on a new planet, you can probably put some stuff back into space.
Yeah.
Right? So right from the very beginning in this game, you get to start adding objects that are like installations into the orbital layer that let you augment or change or mess with what's going on down below. And it's an alternative territory up there that you have to fight for and control while you're fighting for and controlling the stuff down below, and the two feed back to each other.
Yeah, how do they interact with each other?
Well, the stuff that you put in orbit affects what happens on the ground. And that could be like economic, like it could make those tiles produce more, or it could be military, it could make your units fight better. The orbital unit itself could directly attack. There's a lot of different things you can do with them.
Any like Star Wars type laser systems?
Not quite.
Stuff like that. They're similar, but yeah, definitely you can use it if you're for conquest if you really want to, or you can use it for diplomacy and making money and everything else you like to do. But stuff in orbit can't overlap, so if you're the first one up there, you get the territory and you gotta hold it. But stuff in orbit also degrades, so it eventually crashes back down, opening up holes in the territory, and you have to go gather up the remains of the crashed satellites to get special stuff.
Excellent.
And then some units on the ground can actually shoot down orbital units if they're really causing a problem. So there's a lot of interplay back and forth between the two.
What's the end game in this situation? When in Civ it was obvious, it was it's history again, it's a known quantity, and then getting up to the modern age and launching into space becomes like the sort of it's always on your mind. What's the end game? Is it taking over the global dominance, or is it again reaching for the stars eventually?
Right.
Yeah, you can always win by domination. It's a Civ game, so you can kill everybody and win. That's fine.
Right.
Great.
But what's cool about this game is that it starts with this tremendous event in human history, which is we land on a new world and start colonizing, and the game is bookended at the end by another equally tremendous event, and it's facilitating one of those events to occur that wins you the game. The 3 affinity directions each have their own victory condition, and there's also a victory condition which is loosely based on Carl Sagan's novel Contact, where you discover a mysterious signal, build this giant machine, and contact an intelligent alien race for the first time. But we really liked the Apollo, or the Alpha Centauri Victory from Civ, where you have to build these parts, and it's kind of an involved process. It's not just reach a threshold with this number and win.
Yeah.
Right.
So all of the victories are couched in these multi-stage quests, and they all have some giant thing that you have to construct and protect. They're called planetary wonders, and you have to give up a tile in your city to place one of these things, and they're sort of fragile, so you have to protect it. But they're all very sort of involved and narratively driven, but systematic as well. They're very cool. It's fun to win this game.
One of the most enjoyable things about this entire franchise is sort of letting loose and then restarting a different game and replaying in a different style before. How are you guys sort of engaging that? Like, is there much variety in terms of like outset map design, in terms of like the factions that are there when you land?
That was a huge deal for us. Like we wanted to make this game as customizable and different every time as we possibly could. And so there's lots of different ways that you could customize your game, and a different game will be a completely different experience. One of the first is a process we call the seeding, which is the very first thing you do in the game, and it's where you actually assemble the colony ship that's going to go to the new planet. And that's combined with like the faction that you play, the leader, the Civ, but also the colonists, the kind of people you bring along, the kind of spacecraft it is, and the kind of cargo you take, and all of that adds up to a customizable collection of advantages that is who you are when you land. And that governs your trajectory all the way through the game. And with all the different options, every time you start a new game, you could pick a completely different set. You could play the same leader and have dozens and dozens of different combinations of ways you could play them. And then the AI leaders that you face, they're doing the same thing. So even when you meet the same leader again in a subsequent game, they may be totally different this time around. They may have brought different advantages, they may have a different agenda. You may have to figure out again kind of who they are and what they're about. And then of course the planets themselves, like here you're seeing something we're excited to show off here at PAX, which is the fungal biome. A world where
this is new, right?
A world where all of the vegetation is a form of fungus. So it's really gross and weird. It's probably our most alien-looking place. We've already revealed the lush biome, which is very jungly and kind of earth-looking, and then the arid biome, which harkens to planets like Arrakis from Dune. And so that combined with like the suite of map options we've got, like for different styles of planets with different layouts of land and water, like canyons, ice, volcanoes, all kinds of craters, things like that. Landing on a new planet, the planet's going to be this crazy new collection of things on top of all of the things you brought with you, on top of the aliens already there, and they have their own agenda. So every game has got a lot of spin to make it a different experience.
How many different biomes will it have when it's...
This is the third of the three that we're going to launch with. So,
and it's not just the biome either. The biome is sort of the aesthetic aspect, although there are some gameplay implications. For example, in the arid biome, there are more worms. Because Dune, right? But underneath that are map scripts, which are these things that generate, decide where all the tiles go, where the resources are, and all that. And those are very sophisticated. We put a lot of effort into those, and they're also moddable. So we're really excited to see. Our
you guys are diving into that. Well,
right.
Well, that's an interesting one. Like how much variety can happen within that, like in terms of the mods? Do you expect people to make full conversions, or do you think it'll be mostly changing what you guys have?
We don't really know. I mean, we can't really talk much about it because we don't exactly know how it's going to play out.
Sure.
But just looking at what players did with Civ 5, I think that we were hoping for a lot of really great fan enthusiasm for taking what we've done here and spinning it in their own ways. We've left a lot of systems available to be like added to or changed or reworked. And I'm really excited to see how the mod community embraces the game.
I was talking to GameSpot's Chris Waters this morning. He was
hosting
hosting your panel. I was talking to him this morning because he's obviously had a lot more exposure. He was telling me about the questing system, or the quest system you guys have. He was saying, like, for instance, there was one where he went into a cave and there was like a portal there, and you sort of have a binary decision whether you want to go into it or not. But there's scalability within this questing system, right? You've sort of like long-term goals as well.
That's right. So there are small quests that kind of give you these binary choices that differentiate and personalize your civilization and kind of give you a window as into what's happening on the ground. And then there are more long-term, free-form ones that have a lot of branching paths that reinforce things like affinity, late game or in the early game. The quest system is great because it lets us deliver some of this sci-fi fiction and context to the player without compromising their ability to really tell their own story. The thing that we like to say is we treat our narrative like the blurbs on Magic cards.
Okay.
Like Magic cards have this little, this little fluff text in there, and that's your window. Unless you read the novels, that's your window into the world of Magic.
Yeah.
And that's a great place to work from because it doesn't get in the way of Civilization's wonderful quality of like being this procedural storytelling engine.
Yeah, and it's not overburdening
Right.
people with a lot
That's
of
right.
stuff to do as well.
Right.
What's it like for you guys personally working on this game, considering like you're relatively new in the industry, I suppose, at least for a franchise of this sort of like,
this magnitude.
Yeah. What's it like? Is it a daunting experience? Exciting?
It's both, and I mean it's an honor, really.
Yeah.
Like I said when we started, we both grew up playing the Civ games. We're fans of Firaxis, and to be able to take on a Civ game, a game that will go into the canon of Civ games, is just an extraordinary treat. Really, I couldn't be more grateful to Firaxis for giving us this opportunity. We think we've made a pretty good game, one that we're proud of, but I don't think we'll ever lose sight of how special an opportunity this was and is, and how excited we were to be able to do it.
And our team as well. I mean, I think Firaxis can put younger guys in the driver's seat. Like John Schaefer was younger than we were when he did Civ 5, because the team that we're working with is so good. They've been making these games since Microprose,
Right.
a long time, and they really rallied behind this idea, and it came together in really spectacular form. But yeah, it's been an honor.
Yeah.
Excellent, and we can't wait to enjoy the fruits of your labor. When will folks be able to actually get their hands and play it for themselves?
So, Sid Meier's Civilization Beyond Earth will be available on October 24th of this year worldwide. There's no delay for those people across oceans from the United States.
Excellent. That's why I appreciate it.
Yes.
I like that. Growing up in Europe, very much appreciate it.
Absolutely.
David and Will from Firaxis, thank you so much for coming on our stage.
Thanks a lot.
Our pleasure.
For rushing your asses over here as well from your panel.
Not a problem.
Well, you
That's
have
awesome.
food too. So
We do have food, and we can go and eat
got a
the
nice
food
place here.
Here at Sector G. Yeah. We like to keep people fed and watered, as it were. And your panel as well will be on GameSpot, I believe, in the next couple of days as well, so people
Excellent.
will be able to check that one out. All right, that's day one of Penny Arcade Expo 2014 at Sector G. It's been real fun. Chris Waters will be here on the stage tomorrow. I'm about to go outside and play a bunch of indie games and maybe scull some delicious burgers and drinks and whatnot. If you are in Seattle, by all means, come on down. We're just across the road from the expo hall. And if you're not, stay tuned on GameSpot.com. We've got way more coverage coming your way. Thanks to everyone in the production booth, everyone who turned up here as well. Round of applause for yourselves, folks. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.